Good morning and welcome to another Blood Red Morning Bulletin. I'm joined today by Andrew Beasley. As you can tell, if I had my way, we would just be spending the 10 minutes talking entirely about Joel Matip, who scored at last. We've all been waiting for it. One of those mazy runs, finally rewarded with a lovely finish. But the powers that be have said that we can't just talk about Joel for the whole time. So instead, we will be discussing the front three, but perhaps not the one we've come to expect. It's a slightly new look front three. You've still got Salah, you've still got Mane, but in a slightly new role, and now joined by Luis Diaz. We don't know whether this will be the front three for the cup final. Do we, Andrew? Of course, still sweating on Jota and Firmino, but it looks likely that they could be the trio who come out to face Chelsea. How have you rated that as a kind of unit so far?
Yeah, it's worked pretty well. I mean, I suppose the caveat you have to give is that they've played against Norwich and Leeds, two of the struggling teams, and both games were at home. Obviously, a cup final against Chelsea is a different prospect. But no, I think it's gone quite well. I mean, I'm not sure Mane's had the best performances overall, but three goals in 2 games you can't really argue with. Klopp's made a point about Diaz that they haven't really given him any instruction. They're just letting him kind of do his own thing. And I think you've seen that at times. I mean, I was lucky to be at the Norwich game, and certainly in the first half, it wasn't really working out for him. But then obviously he scored a brilliant goal in the second half and stuff like that. And then you've just got Salah just does what Salah does, providing assists for Joel Matip. I mean, as long as he's doing that, then we're all happy, aren't we? So.
Well, I certainly am. But yeah, it's an interesting one about Salah in the sense that he had 2 yesterday and he had an assist and he had a lovely pass in the build-up to another goal, which didn't go down as a goal or assist before Henderson's cross. But you're still coming away from the game thinking he could have had more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was that chance in the first half, which he didn't quite put enough on. And I think it was Firpo cleared it off the line. There was one in the second half in a good position. I think it was Jones set him up and he blasted over the bar. So, yeah, I guess as much as he got 2 goals and an assist and a pre-assist, as you say, probably disappointed with his night's work, which I guess says more about him and his standards than anything else, I suppose. But he probably disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the sort of chances he's got to be putting away if he wants to make up for the lost AFCON time in terms of breaking those individual records. He was on track for a while for the goal record, the assist record, and the goals and assists combined record. But it looks a stretch now, but it could still happen. I think he needs something like 14 goals in his last 12 to beat the goals record, and then sort of 16 goal contributions to catch up with that crazy Henry season. But if he does that, Liverpool probably have a decent chance of winning some silverware come the end. But yeah, in terms of the goal-scoring threats, not just Salah, Mane got 2. We touched upon him there. We also touched upon the AFCON, where we saw Mane play a little bit more through the middle sometimes, more kind of a withdrawn role in terms of like a number 10 type thing. But Klopp has somewhat adopted that. I mean, more because it's been forced upon him than anything else. But it's quite notable that Mane's been given the nod over someone like Origi or Minamino.
Yeah, I guess he is the more consistent goal threat. I think it's about 2 years, I think, since he last played a game through the middle. So it's been a while. But he's certainly done well, at least on the goals front. And I know that he has a good record of sort of outperforming his XG when he plays there, albeit, as I say, it's sort of slightly few and far between. I guess, yeah, it does make sense to give him the nod, probably over Origi or Minamino. I'm sure they'll be disappointed about it, of course. Origi has got on the last 2 games, so he's not out of the picture entirely. But assuming there's no sort of miraculous recovery by Jota or Firmino, you would think Mane will get the nod there for the cup final on Sunday. And from memory, he has a pretty good record against Chelsea. Scored at Stamford Bridge this season, definitely last season. So yeah, it could work out. But it's an interesting one. I would prefer it if Jota were back and Mane was on the left, but that obviously may not be an option. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's one of them where if Klopp has any other options, he probably would avoid it. But yeah, if he's intent on picking these 3, this will be the order they play in. But like you say, fingers crossed still on Jota and Firmino. Klopp hasn't fully ruled them out yet. But yeah, I think Minamino can be a little bit aggrieved if he doesn't doesn't feature in the League Cup final. He's played a big part in getting us here. You see sort of in goal where Klopp has said, look, Kelleher's the cup keeper. He's been a big part of us getting here, so he'll play. It'll be interesting to see if that logic translates, but you'd imagine if it did, we'd have seen Minamino pick up at least a few minutes in the last couple of games, whereas, as we say, Klopp has more gone for this slightly odd repurposing of Mane instead.
Yeah, I can't remember. Did Minamino start the second leg against Arsenal? I don't think he did. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
I'm not sure he did.
So it's not like he's had a sort of consistent run in that regard, as much as he's, excuse me, has been impressive in the competition, as you say, with his goals against Norwich, Preston. I suppose obviously the Leicester one is the most vital because it was the last minute and it took us through to the penalty shootout. It is slightly strange, I suppose, to have an element of sentiment at one end of the field and not the other. But I guess Klopp must see it that the step down between Alisson and Kelleher is not as big as the step down between, say, Salah or Mane than it would be to Minamino. But I'm sure there's a good chance he'll be involved. But I don't think he's going to be starting the match, no.
And so back to the front three, we do imagine we'll be starting. We've touched on Diaz a little bit. I'm sure if he does feature against Chelsea, it will be on that left flank. But have you been surprised so far with the kind of versatility he showcased? He came in very much kind of, this guy's only ever played left wing. And while he has only started there for Liverpool so far, he does seem to be popping up kind of all over the shop along that front three.
Yeah, I think it's obviously interesting when you sign a player like that you're not too familiar with. You know, you can look up a YouTube compilation, but they're going to show all of his goals and assists and things like that, not the sort of other bits and bobs he'll be doing in different positions quite so much. So it's the sort of thing that you may not have too much of an idea about. He may have been doing this sort of all along for Porto as well. But obviously, I mean, the more they can interchange up front is a good thing. And obviously, you know, as we've said, they've sort of given Diaz free rein. Well, if Liverpool don't know what he's going to do, then Chelsea or Norwich or Leeds or whoever obviously don't know what he's going to do. And sometimes that doesn't work out for the best. But it is interesting to have this slightly, with the team being so system driven for so long, to suddenly have this slightly, I don't want to use the word maverick, sort of free spirit, whatever you want to call it, just slightly a different approach from one of the attacking players. It certainly sort of shakes things up a bit.
Yeah, I think our headline word of choice on Liverpool.com will probably be wild card. I can see that going in a few articles over the next week or so. But it's an interesting one because Klopp, I suppose, stereotypically, you would say he doesn't love signing players in January for that very reason. He likes a pre-season to bed them in, to teach them the style. So it's interesting to see him kind of flip that on its head and use it as like you say, almost a benefit, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we know, it probably wouldn't have the transfer probably wouldn't have happened yet had Tottenham not made their move for him. So it is a bit out of the normal sort of way that Liverpool operate. I guess maybe that's the best way to do it. You haven't got time to get him properly sort of bedded in on all the tactics because, as we know, Liverpool are playing every weekend and midweek pretty much for the rest of the season now, particularly if they continue advancing in the Champions League. So there isn't going to be that time to sort of get him attuned to the movements of the teams so much, aside from playing him. So, you know, perhaps it is sensible to just let him get on with it and, you know, get things a bit more organised in the summer when there's more time.
So it could be Tottenham doubly to thank if we do catch up with Man City. They took the points off of and they prompted us into action earlier on Diaz, which has created this new look front three. And I suppose the last question on it is with it still contains Salah and Mane, who of course are both 29, coming on 30. So it's probably not the next generation front three, even if it is the new look front three. But I suppose it does beg the question of the longevity of Salah and Mane. Salah is, of course, going from strength to strength, and Mane has this kind of new lease of life now. How long can they keep going at this level?
I mean, certainly for a while, yeah. I mean, particularly someone like Mane, if he perhaps doesn't start every game, I mean, in the long run, that may actually sort of benefit him if Liverpool have got more rotation options. I think it's hard to see Salah sitting out too many games. He'll want to play every time. Well, I'm sure Mane will too. But Yeah, they don't look like they're anywhere near, at the end of their careers or anything like that. I think turning 30 is not such an issue for footballers as it probably was 20 years ago and things like that. So, as you say, they're probably not the long-term future. Jota will probably start. Diaz will start. It won't be that long before someone like Cade Gordon's looking to sort of make regular starts and stuff like that. So, no, they're obviously not finished by any means, but so this current front three may not be seen together very much in the future, but at the same time, it could win us a cup final on Sunday, all being well.
Yeah, that would be a good way for them to sign off, even if it's their last ever game as a front three in that particular setup. We'll all be hoping for that. We hope you've enjoyed the discussion, and we'll be back tomorrow morning with another morning bulletin. Be sure to check out that. Be sure to check out our website, liverpool.com. In the meantime, thanks a lot for watching.